Hold on for a second. What's up, YouTube family? I would like you guys to make sure you like and subscribe to our video. It would help us get into the algorithms so we could be seen and bring more engaging content to you guys. So, like I said, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Appreciate you. And welcome to another edition of the Bullheaded or the Pick and Downs podcast. Sorry, guys, I was doing the live pod last week. I didn't have to do an intro, but I'm here with Zoo and P-Bush. How you guys doing?
I'm doing well, man. Just a beautiful day in Chicago. White Sox finally got 5 wins on the board through 30 games, pretty much. But the Bears, man, talk of the town. I mean,
yeah,
Caleb Williams, we saw it all last week. Got to shout out my boy Torrey Taylor, man, from Iowa, the biggest weapon for their entire team last year. Bears somehow copped him. You saw Ryan Poles. He wasn't going to leave that draft without that man. And Zoo, I'm hearing more and more rumblings about Zach LaVine getting moved in the offseason, man. So playoff situation might be changing some teams' opinions on him, and maybe they'll take a chance on a little trade. So maybe Chicago sports are turning up, man.
I hope so, man. I'm hoping for a miracle because that's what's going to happen to say the Chicago Bulls right now. Because I'm watching these teams in the playoffs, different class of teams right now. But after watching over 70 Chicago Bulls games this year, comparing that team to these playoff teams, the Denver Nuggets, the Minnesota Timberwolves, different class, man. We're in a different class, and we're really, really far away. They're in first class. The Bulls back in economy. Back in the
not
back
even
the
economy
toilets,
plus.
Man, they're back right by the toilets, man. That's where the Chicago Bulls are. So we got a lot of work to do, but it's been great watching some elite teams put up some elite performances.
Whew. Yeah, that Spirit Airlines might be more apt if you talk about the Bulls experience. But hey, you guys are going to be really excited. You guys are going to be really excited when Zach LaVine is traded for Trae Young. You have that experience going on in Chicago. So
I hope so.
I can't wait for that. That shoe to drop. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with the Bulls. But yeah, man. We were talking pre-production about maybe adding an NFL topic, but I mean, come on. You guys saw the draft. You saw how some of those teams did, but it's now about the NBA playoffs because that is what's urgent right now as NBA playoff games are going on right now. So I just want to get the guys' thoughts and some of their viewpoints of what they have seen in the first round and some potential second round matchups. P-Bush, go ahead and lead us off.
Man, I got to shout out the Knicks, man. As we're filming right now, they're playing. I think if I check the score, they're up 6 at halftime at home. Man, this team's impressed me, or should I say Jalen Brunson has impressed me. Man, getting up 34 shots in a game. We've applauded Nick Nurse a lot over the past couple of years, and rightfully so. He's a great coach in Toronto. Came to Philly, supposed to be the savior. Embiid gets hurt at the end of this season. Everyone's like, "Oh, where's it going?" Where's Tyrese Maxey? Like he's having some solid games. I get that, man. But how many minutes did they not hit a field goal at the end of last game?
They could not get off as a rebound either.
7 straight minutes. I mean, Tobias Harris. I feel like I haven't even seen him breathe.
Oh, geez.
We knew that though.
We knew that, but
he's the most hated man in Philly, man.
Nicholas Batum. I mean, he was having some big games in the play-in. Man, he was huge for them. Absolutely non-existent. I got to shout out Tom Thibodeau for that because their defensive scheme and their rebounding has been the difference in this series, man. Yep. You cannot have Embiid getting 8 rebounds in a game. You are 7 feet plus tall, and you have 8 rebounds in a game. I mean, the Sixers team, man, they're the Dallas Cowboys. They really are. I know that they've had some injury issues this year, and they had the whole Harden situation the year before. Man, they have one of the biggest fan bases that gets sold out with New York fans coming down to Philly, and it sounded like half of a home game. So, you can talk about the Knicks playing extremely well. I think Josh Hart, I saw him retweet somebody who shouted out a guy diving into the river and being like Josh Hart going for an offensive rebound, He's been unbelievable. OG Anunoby's been solid. They're actually 22-3 when him and Brunson are on the floor at the same time this year, undefeated at home, 13-0 when that random duo is on the floor together. So they just have some camaraderie without Julius Randle. They can rely on a single star to get them points, whether it be 35 or 47. This guy is they're exploiting the pick and roll, and I think that's I've watched every single one of their games. I find Thibodeau teams interesting to watch, Zoo, just because I think he gets the best out of everybody, no matter how minimal your role is. Now, he might kill some of his guys in the process, but they've been exploiting Embiid on pick and roll. I saw this stat where it was like, I think it was of however many pick and rolls they set over the last 2 games, like 65% of them they were targeting with Brunson, Embiid's guy, right? Because they want Brunson him to try and step out. Because once Embiid takes a step, he ain't taking a step back, man. His entire body weight is pushing him forward, and Brunson can go right by. Or if Embiid's playing even further back, Brunson's got that beautiful mid-range, man. So that guy he's shifty. He is carrying this team, Zoo. I would argue that him and Luka might be the 2, and Anthony Edwards, I say those could be the 3 front runners for MVP next year if they keep playing like they are and bringing their teams to where they are. I'll say it, man. I'm not saying they're in the same category.
I'm not mad at that.
Level, but importance to your team, Jalen Brunson might be the most important guy on his team right now. So I just got to shout out the Knicks, man. I think it's been a great series for them. For the Sixers, I like Maxey, but man, they got to do some soul searching with just how this organization has been run over the last 5-6 years, man.
Yeah. If you look at this organization, they went through the process.
Yeah,
and they had not got it done. Like you got to at least make a conference finals appearance, especially with the guy. Yeah, especially with the guy like Joel Embiid, who's been a perennial MVP candidate when the dude has been healthy for the last couple of years.
Yep.
And I get Embiid right now. He's playing with he got some palsy. His face is messed up and his leg is messed up. So I can't even hate on him too much, even though in the fourth quarter, the guy's been absolutely abysmal in the fourth quarter relative to his first half appearance. Like in the first half, this guy's cooking, like elite shot making. The dude's putting up 30 a game against the Knicks team that plays extremely good defense, and like Hartenstein, Mitchell Robinson, OG Anunoby, like these are all good defenders. So, and Thibodeau does have a scheme to go with more double teaming scheme now on Joel Embiid. But yeah, you're absolutely correct. Jalen Brunson's putting up some freaking superstar performances. Like this has been the best Knick in the modern day era. Carmelo Anthony, nowhere close to Jalen Brunson.
Not Jeremy Lin?
Stop.
I'm just kidding.
Man. Yeah, Linsanity, that was a run. But man, Jalen Brunson ain't no Cinderella story, man. This guy's that dude. Like this guy putting up 47 in a playoff, absolutely absurd. And he's about to. I'm saying it right now. He's about to get it done tonight, man. He's about to get 30 plus points, and the Knicks win at home at MSG against Joel Embiid, man. Because you don't want to go back.
I would love to see a game 7, though. I mean, but it's
I would love to see it. But this Philly team, like Tyrese Maxey, he's been awesome. Like this guy's averaging 29 in a game and pretty much showing the world, like, without James Harden, I'm the lead guard. I don't disappear in big moments. Like he's just a limited defender because he's a smaller dude. He's a smaller dude. There's only so much.
He's a small 2 guard.
Take advantage of that,
smaller of a guard. But offensively, this guy like doesn't have those moments. Like the lights never get too big for this guy. Like you see moments where Harden, and you even see some moments with Embiid, like the light gets a little bright, like gets a little shaky. But Tyrese Maxey plays the same way, regardless if it's a regular season game or a postseason game, and that's something like a special. Like that's why I know you are a special player. And then those types of guys, they're all on the Denver Nuggets, baby. I'm talking about these Denver Nuggets who got it done against this Los Angeles Lakers team.
Yeah.
Jamal Murray with 2 game winners,
and he was.
He was injured. He had a calf. No, he was injured. He had a calf strain.
Yep.
Doctors told him not to play, but he's like, nah. Like, if I don't play, they don't win that game. Like, absolutely not. Because the Los Angeles Lakers, they're 7th seed. They play better than the 7th seed. They are a good team. Like, this team almost won 50 games this year. And just because the West is completely stacked, the 7th seed. Yeah, exactly. If you're in the East, you're up there. You might have home field advantage, home court advantage if you're in the East. Yeah. Like, that's how the disparity is between that, because this Los Angeles Lakers team, Anthony Davis, this guy balled out. Like, even though this guy got injured in the last game, so they hampered him in the fourth quarter, this dude had a tremendous series, putting up 30 points, 10 rebounds, and absolutely attacking Jokic on defense. Like, they knew the best way to make Jokic work is to attack him, make him be a defender, and make him pretty much try to tire him out, because that's the only way to try to slow down Jokic on offense is like, AD, and AD was great. LeBron James, dude, in his closing game, put up 30 points, 10 rebounds, 9 assists. Like, this guy put up he had a vintage performance.
Yeah.
And what was the difference, Zoo? There's two players, man. They need one of the two to have a good game to win every game, and that's Rui or D'Lo.
Yeah,
12
D'Lo.
for 30.
Yeah,
D'Angelo
Russell
back to what?
He's one of those guys where he hits his threes and he's actually okay. You can play him, or he's like the worst player I've ever seen in my entire life because the guy's a zero on defense.
Yeah,
like
especially against Denver.
He's terrible.
He's not good against Denver.
His defense is terrible. On ball defense, off ball. Like, guy just sucks on defense. So he's a zero on defense. So if he doesn't hit his 3-point shot, he doesn't belong on the basketball court. But sometimes he gets those games, gets the heaters, hits the threes, and then he starts cooking. But D'Angelo Russell, the last game, he hit his threes.
He did.
He hit his threes.
And then the
first 2 games.
First two games. The guy was one of the worst basketball players I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, Rui Hachimura, that dude was awful pretty much the entire last game. He had a good game. He's awful. Like, he was awful because he had that corner 3 the entire game. Corner 3 wide open, but like, he was completely irrelevant. And like Austin Reeves, he's like a third option. He got a nice couple games, but defensively, he's very limited too. Because my goodness, and I got to shout out Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter Jr. Those guys know their role perfectly. And you're looking at a guy, Michael Porter Jr., as a third option, putting up 22 points on elite efficiency. Like, this dude almost shot 50% from 3, and he was making 4 threes a game. Like, this dude was an elite. Like, you could say, like, based on like consistency wise, Jamal Murray had he had ebb and flow. Like, he had the game winning moments, but during like the first couple of quarters, he was a very non-factor in offense. He was very inefficient scorer. While Michael Porter Jr., a guy that last year I said disappeared in the playoffs, has been steady as a rock. Like, this guy has been elite shooter and pretty much showing the world why when he was in high school, he was called the light-skinned Kevin Durant. Like, that was his comparison. And this year he's finally showing like he's completely healthy right now. And this dude's putting up some unbelievable numbers and was Jokic's pretty much favorite assist target because this dude was unbelievable. Every time dude would dribble hand off Michael Porter Jr., he was hitting contested threes, open threes. He was doing it all. He was a great rebounder. And Aaron Gordon as a rim runner and a defender, and that offensive rebound in that last minute of the game over LeBron James outreaches him, elite rebound because LeBron had it. Like, if LeBron was a little younger, he would have got that ball, kicked out to Jamal Murray for 3. So like the role players showed up, and then obviously Jokic puts up his 28, 15, and 9, like absolutely absurd numbers. Like last night he had 25, 20, and 9. I didn't even think he had that great of a game because of his turnovers. Like, the amount of turnovers and silly passes he had in the first half, very like unlike Jokic, because Jokic is not a high turnover guy for a high usage guy like Jokic. Like, he just doesn't turn the ball over that much. So I don't think he had his best game, but his complimentary players showed up, especially the starting line, because the bench is abysmal. It's abysmal. Like, that's the time. The only time it could be is awful. You look at Christian Brown, like
Reggie Jackson.
Ooh, like they had to heavily rely on.
They don't have Jeff Green anymore.
Yeah, May person's Bruce Brown was their 6th man, like pseudo starter. Like
Monte Morris
too. Exactly. So like they didn't really have that guy off the bench this year because that's how you beat the Nuggets. When the bench comes in, like, you got to expose them. When they only have one either Jamal Murray or Jokic on the court, you got to find a way to expose the bench. But they got it done like champions. Like, it was a 5-game series, but it was a very competitive series. It was an extremely competitive series. So
Jamal Murray, man, no all NBAs, no all stars.
Yeah, that is interesting.
And he does this in the playoffs, man.
Yeah, it's actually weird because if you look at his regular season, his numbers are not that crazy. No, like he has the highest. He has the highest points per game increase from regular season to the playoffs in NBA
Jimmy
history.
Butler, very similar.
It's insane. He had 7 points from regular season stats to postseason stats. Number 2 is Jokic, which is pretty cool. So they have guys that rise to the occasion in the playoffs, and I'll take that over a guy in the regular season getting 30 points easily. Like, I'm taking that. I'm taking these guys that rise to that.
I'd argue, Zoo, that they try a little harder too. I think regular season.
I think that's the same thing. You could apply that to the Lakers. I feel like they don't try until they get. I mean, it would be nice if you didn't get a play-in spot, but like the Lakers, like once they know they're in the playoffs, it's like they kind of play, and that's. But I almost think too, like Jokic is, I guess, relatively new on the scene in terms of winning the MVPs, but he's not a young player. I mean, Jamal, I guess, is kind of young. He's in his mid-20s. I don't know how old the other guys are. Like Michael Porter is really young, but I think it's a lot of these teams that at least have been through the playoff battles. They don't turn it on until the series, and two, like Jamal Murray is a great playoff player, but I also think like nobody's ever confusing him as being like an MVP candidate. So it's kind of like his you know, he's in kind of that tweener. Like he's a like damn good player and he rises in the playoffs, but I don't think he's not a all NBA. I mean, I guess you could say he's an all-star type of player, but he's not consistent.
In the
all-star.
playoffs, though,
rises in the playoffs.
In the playoffs, I say he
turns into that.
I think he turns into a superstar.
Yeah.
No. I will go on a limb and say
he comes from like a good starter to a
Yeah.
superstar, which is a crazy leap.
That's a crazy leap. Consistently.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does that consistently, and I almost would say he is the X factor for Denver. Like if he's not playing well, they're not winning any, and that speaks to how like you know he rises to the occasion in the playoffs. Speaking of a guy who would rise to the occasion in the playoffs, like we saw kind of the takeover with Ant Edwards. You know, I think his skill set. Everybody loves to compare it to Jordan. I hate the comparisons, but I think his youthfulness and his ability to just seize the moment was very apparent in that Sun series. And I've been saying really since KD first got to Brooklyn, like we're gonna start having a conversation about KD. And to me, it's like I want to have a conversation about KD, but it really doesn't really like it doesn't need to be a conversation. It needs to be like here, like these are the facts. You cannot build around Kevin Durant. Those days are over. And those days have really been over since he left Golden State. We just got tricked because he's an elite scorer. And this is to the point of why we admire Steph, why we admire LeBron. Because it's not just scoring, it's not just assists, it's not just rebounds, it's not long three-point shots. It's leadership. That's an important part of really any sport, but specifically what we're talking about with basketball, it is super important. And I think I've been victim of it, other people have been victim of it. We get caught up in, well, KD's averaging like 27, 28. He's such an elite scorer. He fits in well everywhere. Well, if you ask me, that's a problem. If you're the pseudo guy and you're the scorer, you need to be the leader. You need to voice out. You need to be a person that says, we're not doing this no more. As much as people get on LeBron and they hate LeBron because he's annoying and he's always, everything's about him. One thing we know about LeBron is he's going to lead your team. One thing we know about Steph, and Steph is the opposite of that. Steph is very mild-mannered. He is a person in the spotlight that we look at and we're like, you know what? He should probably say more. But I guarantee you, without the cameras, Steph is a totally different person that's probably up in Draymond's face and telling him like, bro, you got suspended for 7 games. What the F? What are we doing? Like
And
Steph is probably that guy behind doors.
Sean.
He does do it by example. But it's like you said, there's different ways to lead. But I just think we are, and I will say I was part of the group too. I mean, once Brooklyn happened, I was off KD. But like, even when he was coming from Golden State to Brooklyn, I was just like, well, maybe KD, what he's seeking is like, this is part of every basketball man's life. Like, hey, I want to win one on my own. I mean, LeBron went through it. We all a bunch of superstars, except for Steph, because he stayed at the same place. But like, they've all done that, right? And it was apparent, you know, with KD, this happened a lot. And I started seeing a pattern. We make so many excuses for him. Well, Kyrie was out of control, and well, James Harden was hurt, or this and that. So then he goes to Phoenix, where it's Devin Booker's team or whatever. And then, like, say he get Bradley Beal, and then it's like, hey, we got all these guys. And to me, if I'm Devin Booker, bro, why in the hell would I want Kevin Durant when the best years of my career have been with a point guard? Why would I want that? That has been when I've been in the finals and almost won a finals against Giannis is when I had the elite point guard. So to me, the conversation about Kevin Durant needs to stop in terms of like, hey, he should be built around. No more of that. He is not Bron. He's not Steph. He's not those guys. He's a really good scorer, and he better be lucky that he got those rings with Steph, or we'd be talking about him in a whole different conversation. And that name starts with Melo. That's what Kevin Durant really is.
He's better than Carmelo.
Let's take it easy now. KD's better than Melo in all aspects.
Let me ask you a question. In those years that Melo, prime Melo, played with Steph, you don't think they win 2 rings?
No,
maybe one, not 2. I'm gonna give him one.
Just one, though.
I'm giving him one.
That makes my point. If he just wins one, though, I'll give him one. If you give him one, that means. Now, I'm not saying Durant is obviously better than Melo.
Because I say he's a better defender and a better passer.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. Basically, defender. You I can't even argue defender. Like prime KD is a defender, especially for Golden State. He was
rim protector.
You could almost argue he could be a defensive player of the year. He could get votes for that. But to me, I'm just saying in terms of they're not the same player, but they're in that same bubble. And to me, I hate that now the conversation is shifting to, and like I said, Kevin Durant, I think is a great scorer again, but I think the conversation now shifting to like, is Kevin Durant this? Is Kevin Durant that? I think to me, and I'm going to get back to Ant, but the one thing with Kevin Durant is like, hey, if I'm Phoenix, bro, or especially if I'm Devin Booker, I'm looking for an out because I don't think there's any situation where I'm sitting there. Yeah, I mean, that's been the rumors. I mean, I'm not mad at that if I'm the Knicks. Like you said, I love Jalen Brunson, but I don't like him taking 34 shots every game, even though he's efficient and he's scoring. I still would rather get some of that scoring load to someone else, but we'll talk about that for another podcast. But to me, it's like this has finally solidified Kevin Durant. And a lot of this energy I have towards this, because I've had these arguments in my group chat, because I have a friend who is a massive Kevin Durant fan. And it's like, dog, he hasn't, and I'm not going to say his name, but he hasn't answered our chat since this morning around like 9:15. He hasn't answered our chat about like.
He's working. Come on, Sean, he's working.
It's like, what's the conversation now with Kevin Durant? But I digress and want to talk about Anthony Edwards, and you guys can bounce off of this. Like, to me, and I'll just talk about the next series. What I'm interested in is Jamal Murray's health. Like they say he had a calf strain. Like I said, he played well. But if he is any way compromised, I'm going to look at Ant really closely and see how he's just going to – because maybe Jamal's matched up against him. I don't know if he'll be guarding him. Maybe they'll put somebody else on him.
They will be hiding Jamal Murray. Mike Conley will be the guy he's hitting on. He's going to be hitting on him.
Yeah. So I'm just interested though, but not so much maybe him guarding him, but just seeing their two guards. So like the matchup of the two guard and – seeing how Ant just kind of was like, yo, KD is my time now. I think he's now looking at Jokic and Murray and is like, I'm ready to play. So
he's already saying you're already seeing their time's done, man. Oh, I like.
Listen, but I think in the NBA it happens. I think in the NBA more than any other sport, like NFL, maybe you could argue this, but I feel like in NBA it happens quickly. Like we're already kind of seeing it. Like Steph, LeBron, KD, they're on the back.
They're all gone. They're all home with them.
They're on the back nine,
man.
Mm-hmm. And they might be on like hole 17, not even like the back nine. They're on hole 17. Like they're getting ready to just start tallying the scorecard. Like they're getting close. So now I think it happens quickly. And I think Ant is seeing like, listen, a lot of these dudes don't want to see me. And to him, I think he kind of embraces because then it's like, if you're Jokic and you're Murray, it's like, they're going to be amped because it's like, I know we won last year, but they probably still feel a little disrespected. Like, nah, like everybody's talking about Ant. Like, nah.
If you remember last year, like I remember last year's series, first round series, those are 5-game series. It was extremely competitive. Like for a 5-game series, extremely competitive. And that's when you had Jaden McDaniels punching the freaking wall and breaking his hand. So he missed the entire series. A bunch of goofballs going on. But right now they got an entire – what? He did. He pulled an Amari Stoudemire, breaking his hand for a playoff game.
Did he punch a fire extinguisher or something?
Yep. Yeah. So dumb. So right now, this team is fully healthy. Right now, Cat is back from injury, and in his first round series, you got to give him props. He was good for a guy coming off like a significant knee injury. I guess a meniscus, whatever. Now, he just come back in a couple of weeks. Like this dude averaged 20 points and shot it on elite efficiency in the playoffs. And Jaden McDaniels. This dude is going to be hellacious on Jamal Murray. That matchup, like, you feel like the Lakers, there are no Lakers perimeter defenders that are even close to Jaden McDaniels. And not only do you have Jaden McDaniels, you also have a guy in Ant-Man that likes playing defense, especially in the playoffs when he takes those matchups personally. Like, that perimeter defense combination. Man, I might say something blasphemous.
It's interesting.
It's a little Jordan and Pippen-ish, man. It's a low Jordan Pippen on defense, man. Low Jordan Pippen, two elite athletes with physical tools on defensively. Those two guys are clamping people down as perimeter guys. And you got a guy in the middle, and Rudy Gobert manning the paint. He's probably going defensive. Yeah, Rudy manning the paint. Defensive player of the year probably this year. And you got Karl Anthony Towns, got better as a defender, and Mike Conley's just an old, smart veteran. So they have really high IQ guys. And this is a defensive matchup that I'm nervous. like against the Lakers,
Yeah,
I was like, man,
your future's
easy.
in.
No,
I'm about to say his future bet. Yeah, that's why he's nervous.
Oh, no. Yeah. I got the Nuggets to win the championship. But this matchup right now, I fear more than if they play the Boston Celtics.
Yeah,
Boston Celtics. In my mind, I play Boston Celtics. I feel like execution in the fourth quarter, man, they're gonna cook them. Like defensively, I don't think they can do anything to stop them, even though they have really good defenders too. But this team, like they made the Phoenix Suns offense look like garbage.
Bradley Beal.
You can say, Bradley Beal. Like he said, he should be damned if he gets swept. Yeah, you're damned, man. Go to man, Bradley Beal. That contract,
Galveston.
you're going to hell for that sin.
Yeah, Galveston.
A no trade.
They're joining Zion and Galveston, man. That's what.
Galveston, Texas, man. That's what Bradley Beal deserves to be after that god awful performance. The dude did not score 10 points in a closeout game. And I remember watching that dude had some of the worst turnovers I have ever seen. Like he just stupid, man. Bradley Beal, Wizards, what a fraud, man.
I hate the idea of him. Oh, he was going to play point guard. Like, get out of here.
Man,
he's a shooting guard. No, they need a real point.
The whole Devin Booker as point guard. I'm like, that guy's the definition of a 2. Like, like I said, like a guy like I always say this, a guy like a Tyus Jones. I love these types of guys that could just facilitate the game, and even a
Kyle
guy
Lowry,
I gave it to you. Kyle Lowry's. I'd take a Kyle Lowry, especially with his cheap contract, over a guy like Bradley Beal paying $50 million.
The fit.
Like
that was a mistake.
Because if you look at that roster, you got the 2 elite perimeter scorers in KD, Devin Booker. You got some nice role players like Grayson Allen and like Yusuf Nurkic. And Nurkic, I'm not the biggest fan of Nurkic, but these are role players. They're getting paid a lot of money. But if you look at that roster, like they just needed a point guard to set the tables and lead the offense and have a more cohesive offense. Because if you watch the game, it was a lot of dribble, Devin Booker ISO, Bradley Beal ISO, KD standing in the corner ISO. It was just taking turns on offense. It's like really easy, predictable offense.
Yep.
Very predictable.
This is what I hate too, and this is happening with the Lakers and it's happening with the Suns. I hate that because if you just, and not everybody watches basketball to like see what's going on, they just look at the score. But like I hate that because of you can see like, hey, this team is playing too much iso ball, or in the fact of the Lakers, it's just like Denver just has your number. I hate that the coaches now. Darvin Ham has been kind of bad, but like I hate that the coaches are always the scapegoat. Like the Lakers won the championship with Frank Vogel in the bubble, right? And then whatever, a year or two later, he's gone, and it's like, why did? And I know people always talk about like, well, LeBron. Well, I feel like it's all the stars. Like all the stars have issues with the coach. Like it was a report coming out that KD was mad, and then Booker, which I did not agree. Booker, like after the post game, was like, yeah, man, like I just wish we knew what we were doing. It's just like, dude, why is it always the coach's problem? Like this is the NBA. Like the coaches matter, but I feel like the coaches matter. Like Eric Spoelstra with the team that's like a G League team. If you have stars, you're not really. You're not. I mean, you do coach in like crunch time moments, but it's like stop using the coach as the scapegoat. You guys did not fit, and you got greedy, and like you said, you accumulated all these stars. And like I said, I made a post on the Tyson Talk, the Instagram. Like Anthony Edwards might have ended the big 3 era. Like it might be done with that. It might be done with getting 3 stars. Like that might be over. Like unless you maybe learn, like LeBron. Like superseded it because his talent is too great. Like him and Wade are not the best fit. And then Bosh like developed his 3-point shot in the corner, but he didn't have that when he first got there. He didn't have that. He had the mid range, but like LeBron's talent is so good, he's gonna supersede that. Like everybody else has had these big 3 errors. I mean, Golden State's a cheat code that they don't count, but like a lot of these other teams, like it doesn't work when, like you said, you basically have 3 shooting guards on that team.
Yeah. KD's a 6'10" shooting.
It's not going to work. You got to have a point to set it up. And like you said, like when a team goes on a run, you need a point guard. Like I know we're making fun of Kyle Lowry, but just using it as an example. Like, hey, a point that's going to like, tell everybody, shut up, get in order. Like we're going to slow this down, get a good play, get a good shot, maybe get an and one, like a general. You need that because then once you, like you say, it works when you're all hitting shots because then it's just it's a blitz. But then when you miss a couple shots and then, who's going to set your offense up? That's why it's like, if I'm Booker, Listen, Phoenix, it's been good. It's been great.
You know what?
A lot of memories.
You know what I've been hearing a lot of is they're talking about the Celtics big 3, the Nuggets big 3 with, for the Celtics, it's Brown, Tatum, and they say Kristaps. No, if Kristaps was playing the way he was playing at the peak of his career, they would be doing exactly the same thing as the Suns. Okay, obviously they might be more talented. Maybe they do mesh together because they played longer, but that's not a true big three. Same thing with the Nuggets, man. I mean,
really just a big
Jamal Murray isn't one. He hasn't been 100% healthy for a lot of his career. Same thing with MPJ, but usually, and Zoo, I think you made this point earlier about Jokic's game last night. MPJ and Jamal Murray, I mean, they both kind of carried, right? Jamal Murray hit the shot in the end, right? MPJ was consistent, but Jokic didn't have a great game. So it's almost like every team, you need to have two guys that are being great, and then you need that, your third guy might be having an off night, but you need that one role player or above average role player that's going to be having a huge game. For the Suns, that was Grayson all year. All year was Grayson Allen, and they didn't have him. I'm not saying they would have won the series because the Timberwolves are on another level right now, but they might have snuck out at least one game.
Maybe two.
Oh, this game, you're right. Get at least 6 in my mind.
Yeah,
at least
six, right? And then once again, you could go back to the Bucks as well. They don't really have a big three, but they're not meshing well. All these stars aren't meshing well. Maybe it's the coaching aspect, like you're talking about.
The league is just better.
That's another. It's better when it's like two, and then you have a third guy who can give you almost like. Let's say D'Angelo Russell wasn't as much of a head case, but he would be the perfect third tertiary player, right, on any given 2-star team if he could be more consistent, right? If he could streak it the way that he does on the floor, man. But I don't know. I digress.
I've been off the 6-man, really.
I'm telling you, like D'Lo.
I've been off the playoffs big 3 for a long time.
I hate to say that because D'Lo has a Denver problem. But if you looked in the playoffs last year, he played good against the other teams. He played good against Golden State. He was good against Memphis. He just Denver is his bugaboo, and he's had trouble with them because they figured him out. And I think if say, like you said, the Lakers played Denver in the conference finals again this year, I think D'Lo would have been looked upon better because he plays better against those teams. I just think Denver has him figured out. But to your point, the defense with Phoenix was a problem. And I hate to keep dwelling on Phoenix. Like I said, we can move the conversation forward. Like, for instance, with the Mavericks and the Clippers. I really like how Kyrie is playing. Luka's looking a little, he's got good
he has not had a good series. He's putting up some lofty numbers based on volume shooting, but his impact on the game and his efficiency is not there.
No, it's not there.
Man's doing a good job.
I still think that they could pull it out in 7. Just because,
especially with no Kawhi.
I don't think the Clippers have the firepower with Harden, even though they have Harden and George. I don't think they can consistently do that for another 3 games. I just don't. And then if you're telling me Terrence Mann and his volatile Russell Westbrook gets that's another thing. He kind of loses his. I love the fiery competitiveness, but he sometimes gets so out of whack where it's okay, now you're affecting the team, and he knows that. But so with that series, I still think Dallas in 7. The one I'm still more invested. I'm more invested in is the Cavs and Magic, because I think that one has so many more layers in terms of not just what happens in this series, but going forward. I've been on the Orlando bandwagon for a while. I was shaky, the first 2 games of the series, but like I said, I don't know.
Yeah, just a bunch of blowouts. Every single game's a blowout. It's hard to tell what's going on.
I can give you a live. They're down 4 right now with about 4 minutes left in the second. The Magic.
Okay, so we'll see how that game turns out. But I got the Magic winning that series. I just kind of feel like Franz in that last game really helped my spirits because he kind of had a I'm here now moment in the playoffs. 34. So I'm thinking if him and Paolo can just get on the same page of scoring and distributing, I think they could pull it out. And I just think with Cleveland, they don't fit. And this is the same thing I had to smoke for Kevin Durant. I'm about to start having some smoke for Donovan Mitchell. He is a great player when it's centered around him, and it's maybe another star, but a star that's not for instance, I think Cleveland will be in the same position and have the same results with, say, if that team was just him and Jared Allen and a couple of spare parts, because that's where he's the best at. In this league,
that's
your best player can't be that's why I said that. So it's he's a volume shooter. And this league has told us time and time again, you cannot win with undersized guard. You just can't. It's not how it's built. So to me, Donovan Mitchell, if they don't pull this series out, I know there's going to be a lot of people clamoring to get him. But, if I'm running some of these front offices, unless I want to sell tickets, I'll go get him. But in terms of him, I need another established star alongside like Donovan Mitchell, and preferably a wing, like a wing guy. If I want to go get Donovan Mitchell,
because like Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell, two undersized guards, like having two undersized guards in your backcourt that I would say both are pretty ball dominant guys and shoots threes. Like that fit is perfect. It's not
like
it's
if
not
Cleveland
a perfect
wants
fit,
to,
those guys.
if they want to pay Donovan and just keep him, then and you get I think Darius could be really good somewhere. Like I don't know, but I think he could be really good.
He's he's a very pure shooter, and he's a really good passer. He's just a very undersized guard.
I mean, he's not as good as Tyrese Maxey, but he's in that mold. He's in that mode as an undersized two guard that could score. I mean, even though he's more of a point, but he can score. He can shoot, like you said. He's just not as
there's a point guard, Sean, for some of your teams that need one. Man, he could get moved if they lose in the first round here.
Oh, you get a haul for him. You get a haul.
You get a lot.
I always want to say Miami, but they don't have. I don't think they have assets.
No.
They don't have the assets to get someone like that.
They need to get Duncan Robinson off the books before they can start doing something. No offense, Duncan, man, but that was the Kirk Cousins, man, of the NBA right there, fleecing that contract.
90 million.
I mean, if I'm the Magic, I need to win this series because who would they match up with next round? Would it be Boston or would it be
Boston. Here we go, Sean.
Oh my God, let's take it easy now. I'm not the biggest Boston guy, but they ain't losing to Orlando or Cleveland, man. It ain't happening.
Listen,
don't go there.
Let me tell you. Okay, so with Boston this year against the Heat, we can't take anything outside of the Heat got lucky and won game 2 and they shot hot.
Sure,
but the one thing about that intrigues me about that matchup, if it happens, is I've said this from the beginning about Orlando. They have a lot of wing guys to throw at you body-wise. And Jalen Suggs, I think he could bother either Brown or Tatum. So now if you got and to another thing with them, they're a massive team. Paolo 6'10", Franz 6'10", Jalen Suggs 6'6", Jonathan Isaac 6'10". You got all these guys who are massive dudes. Cole Anthony is a shorter guard, but he's a spark plug. I think they could bother them. I love my theory about the house money stuff. Orlando has nothing to lose because I still think they're in the infancy of what they could. We always talk about Oklahoma City. I think they're in the infancy of what they could do. They could go get another. What if Paul George is I want to get out of LA, and he's let me go to Orlando, small market, let's do whatever. And you're not gonna give him your core for him, Then
I don't even think
they could have another guy.
I don't think they need a star because I think Paolo is gonna be that star in a couple years.
You can never have enough.
But Paolo and
listen, who would you rather have though, Franz or Paul George next year? You probably would rather have Paul. So that would be the certified 2 stars. I don't think Franz is a star yet.
You could just go with the whole Sam Presti method where you just draft extremely well and just let them grow organically. And you're seeing right now that's what's happening with teams like Minnesota Timberwolves draft picks. Ant-Man, freaking Karl Anthony Towns. Rudy Gobert was the acquisition, but he's more of a complimentary.
And we gotta listen. I think we kind of need to apologize because I was very critical of that Gobert trade.
Oh yes,
at the time.
That was a massive. That was a lot.
It's kind of looking. It depends on what happens this year, but it's kind of looking like
that was a Russian roulette trade right there, man. And they got lucky, man. They got lucky. I'm not saying they timed it very well where it's probably going to last the amount of time that their draft picks were given away.
Yeah, the draft picks that they've given up, if they're top 4, it's worth the trade because whatever.
Yes.
It
doesn't matter at all. Utah got that, yeah.
Exactly.
So it's being late round.
And Utah's kind of there. I mean, shout out to THT. He's still hanging on to the roster.
Oh man!
Stop it,
man. He's still hanging on.
I thought we were going to go a whole season. I thought we were going to go a whole season without hearing the name, man.
No, you know what's funny? The only reason why I thought of him is because I was watching when I was doing my Anthony Edwards edit. For some reason, in the algorithm, it had the how YouTube does the next video. And I was doing the edit and I looked and THT highlights were playing. I was like,
man, they knew.
I forgot. I forgot he was with the Jazz. I was like, holy. Man. All right, let's go THT. But yeah, man, it's the Cavs and Magic are a great series, and like I said, I got the Magic in that one, and to round it out. I mean, OKC mopped up Pelicans. We all knew that.
Yeah, man.
Massacre.
Who's going to mop up the Bucks?
I don't know what happens. I don't know. That's another one though. I don't know. Whoever they get, let's just say Dallas. I think that's a super interesting.
That is a competitor because in my mind,
Luka's the best player, but OKC has the depth.
SGA in the playoff. This is the first time seeing SGA as in his prime in the playoffs. Has not disappointed, man. This guy is scoring at will and pretty much regular
Easy.
season has translated to the playoffs right now because he's scoring 30 points like consistently against a team that's been D'ing up on him. And Chet Holmgren as a rookie, unfazed.
Yep.
Unfazed. I remember that one game he started the first quarter extremely strong, hitting a bunch of threes. This guy as a rim protector has been awesome. And Jalen Williams, this guy, this is a second-year guy. Like, I've never heard of this dude out of college. This guy was not even a high lottery pick. He was a later lottery pick. Sam Presti does it again because this dude's putting up 20 points.
Lou Dort, too. Like, completely taking Brandon Ingram out of the game.
Yeah.
Like, Brandon Ingram was a no-show in the last game.
He's been a no-show for a while, man.
Yeah.
That's why I still never understand why people, like, I get why, like, they talk about the assets because people love to point to the Pelicans-Lakers trade, but it's like, dude, no, like, always, like, AD is that transformational of a talent, and I know we just had a conversation about, like, you don't do 3 stars, but it's only 2 stars in LA. Like,
yeah, 2 stars.
That's why you give up the assets to go get a guy like AD and pair him with another great guy because it's like, look at what's happening in New Orleans. You got Zion, who's always injured. You got Brandon Ingram, who's probably not going to be on the team next year. CJ McCollum, a bunch of lottery draft picks. I like Herb Jones and Trey Murphy. Like, they would be nice number 3s and 4s, but like, you know, but Zion's not there. They're just not. They're not a viable option.
And I would say like Zion and Brandon Ingram, they don't fit the best because they're
they're
both ball dominant wings that want to be playing that point forward type like position.
Yeah,
and like they're not the greatest. Obviously, they're not the greatest like 3-point shooters, so they can't play really off ball. So like that fit there is not the best. So they might have to trade away one of them to have the other one.
Definitely
Darius Garland with Zion.
Jose Alvarado, I'm good. Jose Alvarado, I'm good.
Nah, come on, man.
I'm good, man. I'm good.
He's a Walmart Tyus Jones, man. He's a Walmart Tyus Jones.
Oh, you might be right about that one. You might be right. Even though I do like he's a
hustle
guy on my team, but
my energy.
Not a
he can shoot it. He can shoot it too. He can shoot the 3.
Yeah, he's fearless. He's fearless for sure. But yeah, that's our talk on the NBA so far. Like I said, all this is gonna be fluid because we have games going on right now. So make sure you guys check in with us on the Tyson Talks page on Instagram, Quantrell Knows on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts. I will try to get this up tomorrow, but if not, by the latest, it'll be up by Thursday. So make sure you if you watch it, give us a 5-star review and like and subscribe on Quantrell Knows on YouTube. Also give us 5-star reviews on Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. And for me, Zoo and Peebush, we are.